Hello guys, in this video we're going to go over how to install the Daytona Rising objects into your version of Daytona. In this particular version, or this particular video, I'm going to go over how to install it in the default Daytona. I'll go over where it's placed and the objects and how it's broken down and all that kind of stuff. I'll also go over the developer's kit just a little bit and talk about a few things there as well. With that, let's go ahead and get started here. In the Daytona Rising finished download, you're going to see 8 objects and 9 textures. So we're going to select all those, we're going to unzip it, we're going to select those, and we're going to copy those over to your Daytona folder. I'm not going to cover how to edit a track in this particular video. I think there's plenty of videos out there on how to get to this point. I am going to mention that obviously if you make changes to any version of Daytona, it will no longer be compatible online or multiplayer use with any other versions of that track. So if you're going to edit anything that's already existing, just remember that you're not going to be able to use that version online. So you may want to wait until a finished version of Daytona is out with this already in it if you're not comfortable doing any of this. But that's fine. So I've copied all those over into the default Daytona here. And with that, let's go ahead and open Sandbox. And we'll go ahead and open Daytona. And as far as what you're going to have to delete in every version of Daytona, it's going to be different. Again, I'm just working with the default, so I'm going to remove the main stand, and I'll show you here. Is the stands 01.3do in the default Daytona. It may be something different in a different version. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hover the mouse over here and I'm going to delete anything that's in this area. I'm not going to worry about this one over here. I believe that's the helicopter, it moves, so I'm not concerned about that. But I'm going to remove the light poles that are in this asphalt section right here. You will have to add light poles manually to this object. In your version. This only covers the daytime version as well. You'll have to do your own setup for that if you're doing a night track. So once we've got the stands out of there, obviously, bring this over here so you can see it. Obviously, the front stretch looks pretty bare, so we're going to need to take care of that. And we're in object view, so let's go ahead and add the first one, which is Daytona Rising A. May or may not display for you. If it doesn't display, you can try to reload the textures on here. It does not work. It actually crashes it, so I'm not going to do it on here. But there's a reload MIP files in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to add all of the objects. They're not going to be visible. I'm going to save the PTF, and then I'm going to reload the PTF, and everything will be visible. These are the coordinates that I figured out, worked pretty well. Slightly off on the ends, but it's perfectly correct here in the middle. Geometry is not 100% perfect, so kind of have to balance the difference there. So I'm going to put it at the X of 0, and I'm going to put it at the Y of negative 402.0. And I'll show you that here on the camera view after we get all these added. So we did A, I'm going to do B now. And click on Fixed. All the pivot points are going to be set at the exact same place. And everything will automatically line up for you if you do that. So let's go down the list here. Daytona Rising C, fixed, 0, negative, 402.0, and keep going down the list. Daytona Rising D, 0, negative 402.0. So those are the main sections of the grandstand there. Next we're going to go all the way down here at the bottom, and we'll go ahead and do the top building new. For some reason it adds it somewhere that you can't click. What you can do is go down the list here and just click on it there. Don't click anywhere in the actual PTF window, just click on these settings. As long as you don't click anywhere, you'll still have it selected. So negative 402.0, and you can see it automatically moved here in the back. You can also see it as, move over here. It helps if you add it somewhere out away so you're not clicking on anything. The next part will be the stairs.3do. You can see that one actually loaded the texture for whatever reason. So we're going to go to 0, negative 402.0. Automatically lines everything up for you. They're all placed in the exact same place for you. Exact same pivot point, I should say. So we've got the stairs, we've got the top building. Next thing is, let's see, injector 1, which is injector1.3do. Again, if it's placed off your screen, just go down the list here and find injector 1 in the list here, and it'll select it. Don't click anywhere behind this window. Don't click into the main window. Make sure you've got it selected there. Don't worry about back there, it'll stay selected. And then go ahead and make all your changes here in this window without clicking anywhere else. Same exact alignment there. And then we'll add the last piece, which is the main stand decor. 0 and negative 402.0. And we'll go ahead and save the PTF there. Go ahead and close it. And then I'll go ahead and reopen it. Alright, now you can see all those objects are fully loaded there. So if I bring over this window here, we can take a better look at it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the little preview video that's also on the channel here. You'll find the download link in all of these videos for all of these files here. So you can see everything is placed correctly, even though they're individual objects. Their pivot point is all the way over there in the same place that everything else is, so it makes it easy on you guys. You don't have to sit there and try to align anything. It's all taken care of for you automatically. I will make a couple mentions here. As far as credits, you guys, if you want to do a README mention, that's fine. The only thing that I require, if you use this in your track, is to maintain this on the back of the top building. You'll see that in the developer's kit. You'll see it in the texture. Do not edit this part of the texture. Leave this in place. That's the only credit that I require. It's on the back of the top building, so it's not visible or anything like that, but it's there. So that's the only credit that I require be maintained. So like I said, what I was going by was the measurement from the wall here to the front of this. Gives you still enough room to get your staircases in here. The track geometry is a little bit off, so this space over here is just a little bit too big. It's probably 1.5 meters too far away. Really the best I could do. It's kind of a compromise. So there are several tracks that you can steal those staircases from, just to slap them in front here. Kind of break this up a little bit. I would recommend, spicing up a few things. You can put some 3D crowd people across the top to act as, the spotters. Just in case, I don't know if you guys have seen in the other videos, but that glass actually has reflections on it. And I'll go over that a little bit in the developer's kit. You might want to add some 3D crowds here on this little cutout. And you might want to add some in this area here. Just kind of break that up a little bit and give some life to it. And obviously you might want to place some in front here as well. I'll also quickly go over in the state variables just so you can see the different textures as well. So 0 is testing. This is what the texture included gives you for testing. You can kind of see that. And I'll zoom out just a little bit here so you can see the difference. So stop right there. And I'll change that to 1, which is for practice, qualifying, etc. Kind of a half-hearted attempt as a partially empty grandstand there. You can see some of the seating showing through the crowd. You can go through and do the entire grandstand that way if you'd like. You can close certain sections or however you want to do it. This is just kind of a basic, just to show that that state switch is in there in the finished object, and you have the ability to do that. And of course, if we go to 2, which is the race session, you can see it's the full texture being applied to it. So I believe that covers everything as far as placement. Again, like I said, you've got 8 objects and 9 textures to place in the folder. They're very large textures. I'll go over here in just a second. We'll switch over to the developer's kit, and I'll go over what comes with that and some different notes that I have for you on that. So I'll end this segment here on that, and we will switch over to the developer's kit. I'm going to go ahead and keep this in one video just to make this easier on the channel. So you've got some 3ds files. Usually works out pretty well to import those into your whatever program that you want to edit it with. I think everybody has different versions of 3ds Max, so this works out well. I've also got the PSD files. I'm not going to go over the little ones because they're pretty basic, but I'll go over the main stand here and the top building. I think that's the only ones we need to go over. So this is the texture. It's 4096 by 2048, so it's very large. I will mention that it gets heavily compressed, and it also, the model does use repetition horizontally. And I'll go over here, the WinMap settings in just a second, but stay focused on the texture here for right now. So you've got the gray base layer. You got the seating base, which is, we'll go ahead and zoom in just a little bit. It's kind of the stair-step effect behind the seats. You've got the testing texture. You've got the half seats, which in this case is not the one that was included. You can manually go through this, and what I did was I was using the eraser tool, the small brush, and just cutting out individual little pieces like that. You can set that up however you want. And then of course the seat's full. And then also the injectors are on a separate layer. The front pattern is up here on the top. That's the siding texture. Let's see here, the ends. So that is, the left and right end, the turn 4 and turn 1 into the grandstand. You've got the little cutout in the turn 4 end. This is underneath the upper section of the seats. That is the ends of the upper sections, which is lower sides. Suites, this is also repeating. It's the luxury suites. You've got the underneath buildings. These are the areas that are under the checkered section. This is the dark shadow behind that area. You've got the overall shading, and then the front piece shading up here at the top. You've got the wireframe to show you where the paintable or the model is actually mapped, so you got that in there as well. Like I was saying, you could shrink the size of the texture. Just be careful because it is using transparency. You might get a pink bleed through, depending on how you resize it. It's getting heavily compressed because of the size of it. You might get a better result if you shrink the size of the texture and turn compression off. I'll go over that in a little bit here, but let's go over the top building. So this is the one with that copyright. This is the part that I do not want changed. I want this part left alone. Do not edit that. So you've got the background. We've got the glass textures, and I want to thank the members of the SRD forums for helping me find that picture that was taken in Speed Weeks 2016. You guys helped out a lot tracking that picture down, so thank you for that. And different windows there. You've got the different gray sections. You got the World Center of Racing that goes on the middle of the top there. You've got the lights. I will mention that I don't remember what the number is. It's like 124 or something like that, but there is the exact right amount of lights on that texture. Some of the shading, some more of the shading. This texture also includes the reflection mask for the glass. It's fairly low reflection right now. You can make this probably easier to see that way. The lighter gray areas that cover the glass, you could make that a little bit lighter of a gray and it would be more glossy and more reflection. You've got the credit layer and the wireframe, just to show you where it's mapped. And I believe that will cover everything I need to cover in the video here. Check the comments. If there's anything I forgot here, I'll try to put it in the comments or on the SRD forum thread. But yeah, that pretty much covers everything. I think I will probably include the script that allows you to get that object through the PAS exporter and through the Make 3DO program as well, just to help you out. So you'll have that script as well. As far as 3D crowds, forgot about that on the main stand. I would suggest instead of making changes to the model, just leave the model alone. And in the folder here, so those three textures right there are what, the empty, the full, and the half empty. The easiest thing for you to do if you're doing 3D crowds, obviously you don't want the pizza people or the flat people, underneath that. You can take the empty texture and copy it, make 2 copies of it, and rename it F and HE. That way you'll have the empty texture in place of those 2. You won't have to edit the model that way. Absolutely can, of course, but if you're just doing the 3D crowds on top of it and don't want to make any 3DO changes, just change that E to the F and the HE, and that will give you the empty texture through all the different state switches in the game. Probably the easiest way to do it for you. You know, like I've said in the past, I don't care for the 3D crowds, but everybody likes different things in it. So, the other thing I was going to mention in this was you can do your, you know, all those faces are individually mapped, and they're, you know, they're separate from everything else. So if you wanted to go ahead and do fully 3D shadows, you know, you can paint your shadows in this texture right here, you know, as a shading layer. And you know, if you want your sun to be behind the grandstand and you want all this to be in shadow, or you want certain shadows, or you've got the 3D files available to you if you want to set up your own scene and, you know, do your own ambient occlusion baking to get a better result. That's certainly up to you. But I believe that covers everything I need to cover here. Like I said, you'll find the links to the downloads here in all the videos. I believe there's 2 videos for this. So other than that, I hope you guys enjoy, and thanks for watching.